Joining us, MS Now senior political national reporter Jacob Soboroff, an associate professor at Loyola Marymount University and co-author of How Bad Bunny Became the Global Voice of Puerto Rican Resistance, Vanessa Diaz. Vanessa, first to you, why was it so momentous? Why such a big deal to have Bad Bunny play the halftime show?
Well, I think regardless of the political moment, Bad Bunny has made a lot of firsts. He's been, the first artist in Spanish to win Album of the Year at the Grammys and a slew of other things. But this moment in particular, to have someone like Bad Bunny, who has broken all of these records in Spanish, is a loud, proud Latino Puerto Rican, stands up for what he believes in his music and all of the other components of his art. And so right now, we really need that voice. And I think it felt even bigger because of the political situation we're experiencing right now, where Latinos are being targeted.
What I think so interesting is that the controversy around this seems to presume among those who are outraged by it that Puerto Ricans aren't Americans. And Puerto Ricans don't deserve to be represented at the Super Bowl, as if they're some foreigners. And a former Trump press aide clapped back at that on social media. He only left the White House, by the way, a few months ago. This is Harrison Fields. He says, "Last time I checked, my Puerto Rican-born grandmother was a full American citizen, and she voted for Donald Trump." It's strange, given that she voted for Trump, and Puerto Ricans can be, like anybody, very conservative, why they'd want to diminish or dismiss that entire voting bloc.
Well, I think that just goes to show, first of all, that people don't understand the relationship between Puerto Rico and the U.S. But in fact, yes, it's a voting bloc of Puerto Ricans from the diaspora who are in the U.S. But I also think it's this reminder of the kind of exclusion of Puerto Ricans from the national consciousness. And part of that is that Puerto Ricans on the island do not have voting rights. And so I think that this kind of idea of them as foreign others, which extends to Latinos in the U.S. mainland as well. But I think for Puerto Rico in particular, because it's a territory, many Americans don't understand the relationship. It kind of adds this other layer to the ways in which Bad Bunny was positioned as a foreign other.
And Vanessa, the symbolism throughout the show, I mean, there were a number of symbols. The one that really jumped out to me just from my time covering Trump and covering Puerto Rico post that disastrous hurricane back during his first administration were the electric poles and the drama surrounding that. That must have been very intentional.
Oh, it's incredibly intentional. I mean, that entire song he was performing there is called El Apagón, which means the blackout. And so, it's really incredible that if you know the history, then it registered really quickly. But I think people were confused. Are those fireworks? Is that a power outage? What's happening? And that's part of what he was doing in that moment, was like, it was celebratory, but it was very political. And that was the longest blackout in the history of the U.S. It lasted almost a year. And so bringing that back up in this massive stage was really important and moving.
Honestly, at one point, I thought he might throw out a paper towel just to really hammer it home, a roll of paper towels. I thought for a moment, maybe. It would have been, but it would have sent Trump into a crazier tizzy than he already went into.
Are you wondering why I'm here?
There's a business angle, because there was a moment when I was watching when I thought, well, this would have been very at home at a baseball game, because baseball is filled with Latinos. It is a very multicultural sport. Not as many Latinos in football.
Wait,
but hold on, it's intentional. Stop.
This is the most streamed artist on planet Earth.
No, but also because NFL owners, conservative as they may be, want to reach out to a new audience as well.
Of course they do. I just want to say why I'm here.
Yeah, he's the most
I love Bad Bunny.
artist.
He's the most streamed artist on planet Earth. Titi Me Pregunto might be my favorite song, but many of them are fan favorites. And he did open with that.
Are many fan
favorites in the Soboroff family. I'm just going to admit it. Maybe I've just been having a hard time in life, but I cried.
Not like the people at the NFL were deciding, here's an obscure artist who's in the avant-garde. It's the NFL. The NFL is smart enough to look at the guy who is the most streamed artist in the world and say, we have the biggest stage. There's no stage anywhere in the world at any time of the year where any musician, any group, any artist can command 135 million pairs of eyeballs. And the NFL says, hey, you know what? For our biggest audience anywhere in the world, let's pick what's the safe pick? The safe pick is the guy who's the most streamed, most mainstream artist in the world. That's, in some ways, it's telling Donald Trump and MAGA to go pound sand. But in some ways, it's just giving the people what they want. The data is pretty clear. It's also the case that we got 60 million Spanish speakers in the United States. It's about 45 million where Spanish is first language, another 20 million or so where Spanish is a second language. This is not alternative programming. This is not bold, a kind of bold break with tradition. It's something new. It's the first Super Bowl halftime act who's ever performed entirely in Spanish. But all this speaks to is that the NFL understands that its capitalist impulses are firmly in line with the choice it made, and the MAGA right is the one is the force that is on the outside looking in. I will say, on top of everything else, whatever you think of the two last acts at the Super Bowl, whatever you think of Bad Bunny, whatever you think about Kendrick Lamar, they are two of the most exquisitely well-produced halftime shows I've ever seen. I don't know what I expected to see, but the combination of the music and the visuals and what Bad Bunny was singing a paean to here, which was to his heritage in a totally inclusive way. Every headline covering this thing was Bad Bunny's message of unity. And, you know, for all these people who thought, well, he's going to go out there and get political and he's going to say stuff about ICE. No, he did a very mainstream, beautifully produced call to everything that's good about how America sees its culture. And he shut up his critics in every possible way last night.
I mean, seriously, anybody that disagrees with what John said and disagrees that this is about as American of a halftime show as you could have, go look at Ronald Reagan's farewell speech to America. And he says it is immigrants. It is new arrivals to this country every day. It's an America that throws open their arms to America. Ronald Reagan said this. Not some left winger. Ronald Reagan, last speech to America, he says that's what will keep America forever young, forever vibrant, and forever ahead of the rest of the world. That's what we have. That's our gift. It's been our gift for over 250 years. And it remains that way. But just to John's point, for people who are freaking out about Bad Bunny, Brett Favre, I don't know, but while he's counting his, Medicaid money? Yeah. I don't know who this guy is. Okay, that's fine. I don't have Bad Bunny songs. My kids love Bad Bunny. That's fantastic. But this is about as radical as getting the Beatles to play at the first Super Bowl in 1967, or getting Led Zeppelin to play at the Super Bowl in 1975. You're getting the biggest artist in the world. And if you're the NFL and you like capitalism, why not? So I don't know why these socialists hate capitalism so much, and they hate a company doing what's best for their bottom line, but they obviously do. I feel sorry for them. Maybe they should read some Noam Chomsky, because this is American capitalism at its best.
Yeah, it was purely American, the capitalism and the message. And you're right, it wasn't like the Grammy speech, Caddy, where he actually talked about ICE, but he didn't need to. It was subtly political last night. It was indeed, as John Heilemann said, inclusive. It was a love letter to Puerto Rico. It was a love letter to all the Americas. And he listed the roll call of nations at the end. And it was, in this moment of February 2026, a message sent, but a message that I think a lot of Americans probably really wanted. A message of it's not about division, it is about unity.
Yeah. Full disclosure, I did only watch the halftime show. I wasn't watching the whole of the game, so I wasn't there sympathizing with you. Lamia, sorry about that. But look, the politics was the joy. I mean, that was it. People had speculated, would he come in and make some kind of statement like he did before the Grammys? And the statement was there, but the statement was about a celebration of his heritage and all the people of Latin America. I mean, even Erica Kirk couldn't have been offended by this show, because the very last moment of that show, what did he do? he reiterated what she had said at her husband's funeral. The only thing more powerful than hate is love. I mean, he could have picked up the phone to her and said, Erica, you agree, don't you? I mean, it was very hard to have been offended by this show, and he made a point of doing that. And I think that's why it was so incredibly powerful. It was also super clever. I mean, it was it was like watching a musical, a mini whole Broadway show in the space of 16 minutes with the couple who was actually getting married, the young kid. I mean, what was not to like? And I think that was deliberate. He went for joy over politics, and in a way that was what made it so successful. And
you're so right. In the background, the only thing more powerful than hate is love. What an incredible message. And sign me, I'm with David Drucker here.